So he made me call down.
I'm just gonna, Rima, I'm just gonna put my camera off while you talk about this. So,
all right, no worries. Yeah. So he was like, oh, like we're just gonna call different types of like plastic surgeons, and we're gonna see like, oh, like which one would actually do it, which one's gonna be discreet about it, which one's gonna be like cheaper. You know what I mean? Like which one's gonna actually like get the job done and stuff. And you know, we're in North America. You're not gonna find any of that. We found a couple actually. I don't know how they got their license, and I don't know if they actually have their license, but it's not very legal. I'll just say that. It's not very legal. And so, yeah, so because they also want your information even when you do it. And he didn't want my name on there being like, oh, like, she got hymenoplasty, right? I'm butchering the name. But, yeah, like, so he didn't want the government having that information. He didn't want them to be like, I don't know why. Like, it's not like your husband is gonna go through your like health records. He really didn't want them there. So he was like, you know what? During the summer, I'm gonna take you to the Middle East again, and we're gonna get you that surgery. And that was like, I was like, what? Like, and I thought like, oh, like this is gonna fix my life. You know what I mean? I can just forget about him. I can just forget about like the life that I actually wanted, and just be the person that my parents always wanted me to be. And I can like fix my mistake and like reverse back time and just stop making decisions for myself because my dad's got me, right? My dad's got this perfect idea for me. So I was through it at first. Like I was like, okay, whatever. If that fixes me, then so be it. But I don't know. The more that I actually talked to a couple of friends about it. I'm so glad I did. And I was so scared, and I was like, "You're gonna think of me differently. You're gonna whatever." But they're like, "No." They helped me through it, and their input on it really helped. They're like, "You don't want to do this, right? Like, because if you want to do this, if you want to live like that, then that's obviously your decision. But I know that you expressed to me before that you don't want to live like this. And honestly, the most important thing you can have during those tough times is a friend or two or multiple friends that can help you reason out of it, help you reason out of all the biases, all the everything that Islam puts in your head. So it's very important to just have people who are actually very supportive, who actually aren't afraid to like talk to you about the facts, talk to you in a way that doesn't just like please Islam and like please, you know, like even though they don't even believe in it, like essentially like yeah, just listen to you, just be able to have feedback about it as well, and being able to just tell them how you actually feel. Unlike my parents, of course.
yeah, no, 100%. And again, I'm so glad, honestly, in your case, you had such like just friends with like a good head on their shoulders to be able to actually call out some of the things. And like, even when you use the word, like, you know, I thought that would fix me. I mean, like just woman to woman, you're like, oh God, like there's nothing about you that needs fixing.
Yeah, he would word it exactly like that. He's like, oh, he took it from you. He took everything from you. Like, it was always about like, oh, like you lost so much and whatever to this man. It was like, you know, it was my decision. I'm a true.
That's absolutely not true. Like that, scientifically, theologically, logically, it's just not the case. And
it really isn't.
And what happened to Rima is actually like it's a cautionary tale, because this is what a lot of parents say to their children when they're in the process of this kind of emotional manipulation,
when they're trying to say,
you know, and a lot of the time they're not even as open as Rima's father was about it. They're actually like, oh, we're just going to go and visit your, you know, paternal aunt. We haven't seen them for a while, or there's a celebration.
Yeah,
and they actually like trap you in that situation. And then over there, obviously the same laws don't apply. And obviously that's why there was a bit of hesitation even from Rima's father to have, you know, the public record that this has happened, even though, as Rima saying, it's not legal, so to speak, but even having that like on the, you know, basically a trail
of any crime,
would also jeopardize his honor, so to speak.
So to go back to your
home country, so to speak, or your a country where it's most definitely encouraged and not shunned, is the MO of how this happens. So again, Rima, I think just having some like a solid support network like you did
can honestly be
like life-changing in these tiny like instances which have the most like far-reaching consequences. Just to draw a parallel, even in my own situation where I was so embarrassed by like everything that had happened, and like, you know, I was still a Muslim at that time, but I had insane PTSD. Like I wasn't even like sure I could come back to my family because I had been divorced, and I know what divorce means in our culture, and sanctity of marriage and all that crap. And it was honestly friends of mine who were actually even Muslim, but they were liberal Muslims like I was at that time anyway. They were so supportive. Like, I mean, on the phone, like to me as I'm fleeing like the airport from the UAE, landing in Baku to landing in London to the car ride home, like on the phone, like, we've got you, you can do this, like there's people who love. And sometimes you really need that reinforcement, as you'll just go into your really dark bubble.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And you make really silly mistakes.
Rima, like I would have honestly, like your line,
I could easily just
yeah, sure, let's do it, you know?
I definitely was like that before, and I'm so glad he couldn't actually find a way to actually find like one and like actually have me go like next weekend or something, because I had time to make a plan. I had time to get out of there basically, and that's when I was like, yeah, I need to basically get out of there. I'm not happy. I'm miserable. I can take care of myself, and no matter where I end up, I'm gonna be so much happier. And yeah, I was right about that. So yeah, I knew that I really couldn't wait too much because summer was coming. It was this summer, but yeah, it's coming, and like there was a deadline because he's gonna take me. And he actually used a lot of words like, "Oh, like I could just take you out of university." I was really considering it, stuff like that. I was like, "No, you can't do that. I'm really passionate about what I study about." He's like, "No, I can do that. I'm gonna do that if you do that again. If you talk to that boy again, and things like that." So yeah, so after that, I didn't wait too much, and I started talking to my university's counselor, and I started just spilling all the beans to her. Yeah, I was telling her everything, and I was like, I'm sure she can help me do something, you know. And she was on the verge of like reporting all the time. She's like, you know, I need to report about this and stuff. Yeah, and I was like, no. I mean, like, I'm not admitting to it. I'm just saying, what if, you know, like I'm like trying my hardest not to like, get reported right away because I was still formulating the plan to get out of it. And one night I just realized that like I can't keep doing this. You can't really find the right time. You just have to do it. Yeah, you just have to get out of there, find a place, get out of there, and never come back. Essentially, I mean, at least for a very long time.
And is that
Yeah. I've never reached out to any of my family members or old friends that have similar ideologies ever since I left. So I wasn't able to really write anything to my parents or anyone else from my family, anything like that. Any of my past friends that I knew would be a risk to me, like none of that. They were all just cut off completely. Yeah, so the day before, wait, actually, I should tell you about this. I basically wrote like instances of threats and stuff and things going on in my house that can help me as evidence. Good. Yeah, I started the document. I started a document and I named it some silly name that, you know, my parents wouldn't find out. And like I filled it up with rubbish at the top.
Nice.
And then I scrolled all the way down. It wasn't even my document. It was someone else's, and they shared it with me. So that if they ever find it, I'm like, unshare it. Yes. Yeah, so I wrote all of that. Yeah, I wrote all of that within like not even a month, and it was like 5, 6 pages of all those things. And I took it with me, and I told my counselor, hey, I'm thinking about like leaving as soon as possible, and like if you can report, then I think you should. And so I remember it was literally the night before. I was like, that's it. I'm actually gonna tell them. And I told them, hey, I'm leaving tomorrow. I can't do this anymore because my parents and I got into a really big thing, and it was just horrible. It was just like a screaming match based off of nothing, based off of a stupid little argument, and me saying, no, I don't want to do that. And my parents just like went ballistic on me. They went crazy, like. And that's when I was like, I tried everything with them. Like I really did. I tried to reason with them. I tried to say no to my dad, by the way. I was like, I don't think I want to do that. And he was like, well, why would you not want to do that if you want to do that again? If you want to be with that boy again, you know? And my dad would say things like, my dad would say very threatening things to me, like indirectly. I don't know if I'd want to get into that, but yeah. And he said at one point that he was basically gonna disown me if he ever heard that I'd ever do that again, if I'd ever do the deed with someone again. So yeah, it was a lot of just scaring me out of it. So yeah, I packed as much as I could in my backpack to the point that it wouldn't seem suspicious. So like things like essentials like underwear, socks, um, little things to try to like keep me happy throughout the way because it was very harsh. And I packed some snacks like non-perishables, as much as I could get away with. And the advantage to that is that I've always carried a lot of things to college, so my parents never really like noticed anything about that. They never noticed that like I'm carrying way too much. But yeah, sometimes they check it, so I really needed to be subtle about it. Really needed to be careful on what I was actually packing. So yeah, it was mostly just like essentials and like little few things to keep me happy, like maybe like a small plushie, some jewelry I liked, stuff like that. And I was also careful not to take like things that are actually valuable, even though they were actually my own, because I knew that my parents would fight me for them eventually. You know what I mean? By like law and stuff, like oh, like she stole from my house and stuff, which actually happened. I took a few gold things of my own, and they wanted like one of the only few gold things I actually owned back. I didn't even take all of it. I took like a quarter or something. And
You're their daughter.
Yeah, the police like, well, yeah, the police like, we want it back. Like this is not hers and things like that. But it was literally my gift, and I've had it since I was like maybe like 10, like a very long time ago. I've always had it. It was always mine. And then they go like, no, like this is ours and stuff. I give it back because I didn't care too much about it. But like, I could have also said no.
Yeah, you really could have. Also, that's just extremely like petty, especially
Like just
daughter starting a new life.
I didn't get all my things back. They got to choose what to give me back.
Gosh, Rima, this is.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Honestly, this is this is parental abuse.
It is. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't get into it too much.
Yeah. No, let's not take you down. Also, on the flip side, the fact that you've got like the complete, like the most amazing characters as friends as well, I think it really helps.
Yeah, definitely, exactly. You really need support, especially because like you've always been pushed back to this one corner, and you need like help to just get out of it, help to like be able to walk again. Like, yeah. So yeah, I told a couple friends, hey, I'm doing this tomorrow and stuff, and I was really supported throughout. They were coming to university tomorrow, so I was like, okay, yeah, we can like do this, So yeah, my counselor knew and everything, and we started looking for places right away. We started looking for, but honestly, primarily, we were looking for shelters because I essentially knew that no one was able to actually keep me anywhere. Because my friends are kind of in the same boat as me. Like, we're not rich. We are literally university students. So yeah, they couldn't keep me anywhere. But yeah, so my dad drove me to university that day. Dropped me off. You know, it was fine. It was normal. He didn't suspect anything. He was like, okay, see you later. See you back home. And I essentially never came back. He essentially has never seen me again.
Wow.
Yeah. During that, I was mostly in the with counselors at school, and I was like, this is an emergency, like, and like my other counselor knows about this. There's a note, and then like they're like, oh yeah, right, like this is you. You're gonna do this today and whatever. And like they got me a few counselors, and like sitting down with them, and I showed them the evidence. I talked to them about it. I was crying a shit ton. I was like, yeah, I can't be there anymore. They're gonna do this to me. They're gonna take me away. They're gonna take away my rights, basically.
Yeah.
So basically, if I came back to the Middle East and I left North America, then it was basically over. Until I could like regain my footing again by myself there years later, given like all the little rights that women really have, and like I don't know, maybe I would have even needed to like get married and stuff there so that I could like be out of my parents' house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And be able to like formulate things on my own, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been like a whole mess, a whole different story.
Yeah, because now
You're talking a different country, a different jurisdiction, potentially a marriage just to escape
one house.
You've got to escape the other house, and you've got to escape
Yeah.
the country.
This way
At least you're just escaping from one house to a safe space
with the laws.
behind you, so to speak, right?
Yeah. So we were just there essentially calling a lot of shelters, and the condition of shelters in North America is pretty awful. And like the space is extremely limited. We didn't find a single shelter that would really take me in, except for one, and it wasn't even like an actual shelter. It was like for people with a lot of health problems, right? People with it was like a medical type shelter. So there was like full of adults. Some of them were even like 70, 80. Like it was all horrifying because like there's like so many different people. It's not like it wasn't like people my age, which would be like less like scary, you know, like having young adults instead of like these super old adults everywhere, like and people aren't the best there. I'm just gonna say that. So yeah, so some of my friends actually came in a bit later. And yeah, they were allowed to stay because I was like, yeah, like I give them consent to like stay and like help me because I really needed support. So two of my friends came, and for the most part, after we were essentially just like waiting until later, and we were basically like, oh yeah, that was when we were like waiting for them to find a shelter for us, for me, not us. And yeah, it was just like they're like on the verge of tears, and we were just like trying to like kill time as they were trying to find shelters. And I was like so shaky, but like I'm really glad that they were there for me because like I don't know, I really needed just like hugs and support and like just be silly for a little bit. Even though like yeah, knowing that like things are gonna be okay and like I can do this and things like that. So then comes time where what's it called? It was supposed to be like, oh, like my parents texted me being like, oh, like see you home soon, whatever, because they're expecting me to be home anytime soon. And I didn't respond. And like an hour or two passed by, and they started spam calling me like a lot. They spam called me like maybe like 50 times at one point, and I would just always like I muted it and like everything, and then they're like blowing up my phone with like I was so scared, but I couldn't remove the SIM card yet because if they see like no service, they're gonna come immediately, right? Yeah. So I need to like stall a little bit, you know, and I was like, okay, it's happening, we need to move, like, and they still didn't find a shelter, by the way, like. They didn't find a shelter until hours later because I'm telling you, like there was no space anywhere. But they found it very last minute. So yeah, it was just there, just panicking. it was really horrifying.
That day must have felt like years rolled into one.
It really did, yeah. It was a super long day.
Yeah.
And I was just horrified the entire time. I was always like, oh, I can always just go back. I can always just be like, sorry, I didn't see my phone. Just be like, I get in a lot of trouble because they never called me that much before. But I was like, I can go back to my old life now. And my friends were like, no, you're expressed to us that you don't fall back into it.
And then did you eventually get a shelter then that night?
What did you do?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I was crying the whole time when they took me
Yeah,
there.
I can imagine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was like, because everything was so different for me, because I've always slept with like my family being there. I've never like been disobedient to them, really, like, or that disobedient to them before. And I was like, who's gonna provide for me now? I'm like in a shelter, and it's awful here. And on the way there, the taxi actually said that the taxi driver, he knew where I was going, right? Because I gave him the location. And he was like, I was just in a shelter before, and I'm just going to tell you, you got to be careful because everyone there is a thief. And I was like, wow, even more things to worry about.
Yeah, literally. Thanks.
Horrified. And also the one that I was in, there's no lockers, there's no nothing. So your roommate can just take your stuff, be like, hey, I'm going out, I'll be back at X time. They'll be like, okay. And then they go out, and then they give someone your stuff. And then they come back, and they're like, what do you mean? I didn't take your stuff.
Oh my goodness.
And they're gone just like that. Everything is gone.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was sleeping with one eye open.
Jeez, you poor thing. All of this just to get away and like live life according to your own wishes and not have your
Time and like
supposedly restitched and be taken away. And
so
such high stakes for a woman who just chooses to say no to
in general
status quo in a conservative to regular Muslim household,
Yeah, but yeah, if anyone wants to actually like go through with something like that, like you have to be extremely sure, and you have to be extremely strong, and you have to have a strong support system. You need those things like a lot.
I think
that's what got you through as well, because the thing is when we see these kind of cases is that it's so easy to just go back, and it's actually easy to go back. And
most people
it is easier to go back. Yeah, it's
unless you have those people like right there with you, pushing you and saying, "Nope, remember the long goal here. Remember the long-term aim."
Right, and
it makes it that little bit easier. Not that any of this is remotely easy.
Yeah.
On the side of it, when obviously like that intensity of what you've just experienced and like almost like the re-traumatization by being in this shelter now in a different way is like settled.
I mean, you kind of
started to, I guess, like get back on your feet and build up these pieces, and I guess your mind had settled as well about like things that you had run from and things that you once believed in.
How did that feel?
Like, how was that unraveling?
Well, obviously it feels good.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. I'm basically not afraid of being abused anymore. There's none of that fear anymore. It was kind of crazy actually, because even in the shelter, I wasn't being abused. Even in the lowest of the low, I was not being abused.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
It really does. They weren't allowed to. I mean, there were a lot of dangerous people there, and I did get a lot of threats, but like, essentially, I wasn't abused. Or people weren't allowed to abuse me, basically. Or there would be consequences. So they refrained from it. Also, side note, the food in the shelter is horrible. Like, I could not stomach it down. A lot of the people there actually are not able to stomach it down at all. I couldn't eat anything, basically. Nothing at all. Yeah, for the first 2-3 days, I barely stomached down anything. Everything was just coming out.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they gave me like a little salad too, like the smallest salad you ever imagined. It's so tiny, like maybe like a cup's worth.
Oh my god.
And I couldn't even eat that. I couldn't even eat that. They're like, just try having this, you know? Try having that. And like, I could not.
Okay, seriously, North America needs to get their act together with their public funding and fix up these shelters, because that is
Unacceptable.
Yeah. I mean, like they'll give you like sandwiches and stuff, but like you cannot stomach it down. One example was like we knew there was like a pregnant lady there, and she was not able to eat. She was throwing everything up, and they couldn't get her anything either. They got her like goldfish, like the crackers, and they got her like oatmeal, a lot of oatmeal, and that's all they had to give her. It's really horrible.
unacceptable.
Honestly.
Yeah, because if you can't stomach down the sandwiches, then too bad. Like, what are they gonna do about it?
Yeah. God.
They also had like those like frozen egg sandwiches, and you're not even allowed to cook there. You have to ask them to get a glass of water.
Wow.
You're not even allowed to touch the
Regimented.
It's for staff only.
See, and this is like, I genuinely believe when somebody is escaping a situation like yourself or any other reasons that you'd end up in a shelter like that, all of these things are adding to a sense of re-traumatization for that person.
It really is, yeah.
Genuinely, like,
And then
that's when you need to be confronted by people who have like the highest level of empathetic skills, like the
highest level of
social skills.
skills. The
Yeah.
highest level
Of, you know, I'm not saying it should be like a 5-star hotel.
again, I understand there's no way
It can be really, but you should have basic facilities where pregnant women are able to have like a decently healthy meal, right?
Yeah, where they can actually eat something like
Exactly.
a little oatmeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the staff there, they actually look down on you a lot. Not all of them, obviously, but a lot of the time they do treat you like you're less than, or they do talk to you like you're less than or you're dangerous. Because I mean, I don't blame them. Like, there are very dangerous people there, but like there's a lot of like that type of like hostility, I guess, from the staff, and they really don't they don't treat you like a person. I'm just gonna say that.
Rima, like, it's bad enough that the staff are like, you know, not approachable in that sense, but also that you're fleeing to what's supposed to be a safe space, and then you're being surrounded by
potentially really
dangerous people as well.
you know, like even that is another added worry.
Like, even what the taxi driver said to you on the way is another.
Yeah.
There's a young woman who's
Kind of
sheltered in a very abusive way, but sheltered nonetheless,
to go into
a shelter and be surrounded by actual, real potential criminals.
Definitely, yeah. The police were there every night at least once. that's how kind of crazy the shelter can get. Like, some days the staff will be like, "Yay, we have 0 police coming in today. That's amazing."
oh wow, it's funny.
Yeah.
We have very similar issues here in the UK as well, though.
So I
do have to say it's not unique to North America, probably.
but Rima,
I wanted to keep this just to under, let's say, like an hour 45.
just the people
All right.
Concentration. So just to kind of, because there was a lot in your story, and I don't know
how we're gonna
calculate it, but I guess what I wanted to ask you 2 questions as we wrap up, and then I'll get your final thoughts. The first would be, would you say, like, obviously the cumulative effect of everything that happened to you and watching Apostate Prophets videos, was there a point in time where you were like, okay, that's it, I'm done with this religion, or did it just happen over time? That's my first question.
I think it was mostly over time. I don't think I've had like I don't know, my brain needed to like be changed like little by little. It was too much to just like get it done all at once. Like, even like during my shelter days, I wore the hijab, and then I was scared because I was actually getting some racist comments. And then after that, I was like, I don't even want to be a Muslim anyway. And then so like, I wore a hoodie and like put my hair up, and then I wore a hoodie and then put my hair in a braid. And then I took off the hoodie, and my hair was always in a braid. And I just did whatever. Yeah. So gradually, I think, I don't know, especially for me, gradually getting comfortable with it step by step is what really helps me throughout this journey. That really helped me all the time, like being gradual, not taking it too much, because if you take it too much all at once, then you can break down like a lot harder versus if you just didn't do that, if you just like went easy on yourself, like just took it step by step.
100%. Like it is almost too much like cognitive dissonance and too much fear and guilt and shame and worry and a want for liberation all at once, that genuinely it might be too much for the human Muslim brain at that time to handle in one go. So yeah, a lot of the time when you ask people like, was there a specific point in time where you remember you thought I left religion? For me there was, but it was obviously after a long time of watching these videos and having these, like, I would lay in bed at night thinking, like, you know, going over.
Yeah.
Then I got to a day where I think I must have felt like Rima did, and just when she was like, I don't even want to be Muslim anymore, I was
like, I'm done with it. Yeah, I'm just done with it.
Exactly. But that phase comes naturally to everybody. Like, you can't force that. It's such a personal thing. You said it beautifully, Rima. I couldn't have said it better. You're very welcome. And my other major question to you as well, and then I'd like you to end with whatever you'd like to say. First of all, I think you're incredibly brave, and I think you've made some extremely smart decisions and were guided by some very smart individuals in your life. So I will always be eternally grateful for them. No matter how shitty the situation was, there were laws in at least the continent that you're on that were able to at least take you out of a very, very difficult situation and get you somewhere better.
And I know it's
like an uphill battle. Trust me, like I work with people who are moved to refuges or who need to be moved to refuges or out of, like, you know, abusive domestic situations all day. And it's not easy, and you have to even mentally prepare them and set expectations, manage expectations for what they're going to face in the interim. But then you always look for, once that time period of struggle goes, your life will be on the upwards and onwards. You know, really, once you cross that threshold of the purest like pain and suffering and living a lifestyle that you're not used to and being in unfamiliar territory and all of that, if you push through, you really will claim your power back in ways that you cannot imagine. But you did that in so many ways that have been manifested in your story tonight. But what I want to ask you is, what would you say to other women who are either like questioning, like exactly whether it's, you know, am I even meant to be a straight person? Is this what my God demands of me? Are my parents not treating me right? Do I even believe in this religion? Am I allowed to have friends who are guys? Whether it's any of the things that you brought up in your story tonight, what would you say to people of a similar age who are going through any of these same battles in their mind?
Okay. I would say, like, the biggest part for me was having people who are open and listening to them, listening to their points, being able to do your own research as if you weren't Muslim. So, like, coming into it with a completely different headspace. Like, don't let Islam just always fight back the other things in such illogical ways that you forget to just listen to the other side as well. Don't let one side overpower another side. Listen to them as their equal, and you're gonna be able to come to terms with it. Because in Islam, they basically tell you, don't listen to the other side. They don't allow you to do that, and that's where their power really comes from, is when they make you feel like, oh no, it's even haram to actually like listen to the other side. So that's how they get you. That's how they get you. It's like not giving you the option to just be able to look at the other side's perspective and be able to take that in and be like which side do I feel like is for me? Like which side do I want to live by? And yeah, you do have to be very, you also have to be very like very determined, I would say, like because it is, as you said, like it's really easy to go back, and I've definitely thought about it a lot. But what really helped me is just like I write a lot, right? In journals and stuff. My journal's actually almost done now in just a few months, but yeah, like writing down a lot, especially like reminders to help yourself. Saying things like, sorry. So you write things down like why you're doing this. So why I was doing this is because I don't believe in this religion. I don't want to base it off of a what if. And because of all of these reasons that I think Islam are false, all of the abuse and hatred and just everything about it, like the othering, the like we're more supreme. Also, it's like a completely Arab religion, by the way. Like, but yeah. So essentially, have good people, have close friends, be determined, and listen to the other side.
Thank you. That was absolutely beautiful and so well said. And I really hope that if any of you are listening and you are in a situation even remotely similar to Rima's, then you would please heed her advice, because like she said at the beginning of this interview, the way that if you've even been following me now, it is usually at some point in our journey, we really, really were believing
like passionate Muslims. We didn't leave the faith because
you can see how Rima struggled with this, even at times when everything about her was saying that this is wrong and I feel right just living by my own rules and my own terms. But she would still, it was whether it's the fear of hell, whether it's the fear of your polytheistic or your non-Muslim friends burning, whether it's the fear of, you being deviant sexually and in God's eyes, or whatever it is. But also, Rima, one of the biggest things as well, and this is the harshest reality of ex-Muslims like yourself, and I honestly can't even put myself in this boat because I'm even more in a state of privilege. So I really, really have respect for people like you who have gone through something even more like just troublesome and hard on your heart to like separate from your parents. So what would you say about that? And what would you say to people who have to even hide it from their parents or have to move far away just to live on their own terms, which I know many people like yourself who have had to move away, start new lives, start from complete scratch?
So the biggest point is that in that abusive relationship that you have with your parents and essentially Islam, is that like they, if you notice that they essentially manipulate you into wanting more from them, wanting their acceptance. And they don't give that out. They don't give that out like just like that. They give that out in very like specific, sometimes even random like situations. So what you need to do is take away their power in that regard. So give that to yourself and give that, honestly, just give that power to yourself. Even though like it's very real to like really need your parents to accept you and love you as you are, sometimes you might not get that, right? And so you need to learn to live with that, and you need to learn to live for you and not for Allah, basically. Once you took away that power, you have to, and once you place it in yourself, you also have to practice that, like actively. You have to be able to wake up every morning and tell yourself, basically like you love yourself, you accept yourself, and you believe in your journey, you believe in what you're doing for yourself.
100%. And do you feel like you're living life at least more authentically on your own terms now?
Yeah, definitely.
And have you changed the
I'm
power
still not gonna lie, like, sorry?
Are you in the process of claiming your power back, my dear?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I've had a lot of progress. I'm not in the shelter anymore, so I'm really grateful.
No. I know. Backstage, by the way, all of you suckers, I've seen her and she's amazing, and she's most definitely not in a shelter.
And I honestly,
It's what is like, I'm telling you, when you come out the other side, it's the beginning of
think
a
about
whole life. I'm so excited for what's ahead for you, Rima, honestly.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm definitely not going to lie. Like, a lot of the days that I lived through, I feel like they just pass me by because of all the trauma and all of the everything just going on in my brain. It really like weighs me down so much to the point that I can't do anything that day. Sometimes I can't even make myself food that day and stuff. Yeah, so I'm just essentially doing nothing, just in bed being depressed. Things are too much on me, but you know, you sometimes need those days, right? You're not always gonna be productive and stuff. Like, it does take a huge toll on you.
and then
It's gonna, yeah, and even the act of getting out of there is gonna be more traumatic. So you're gonna need more therapy, more help. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, like, sometimes it gets worse before it gets better.
but like you said, I mean,
Just the amount that you're dealing with, don't be too hard on yourself, you know? Like, we're all human beings and we have these days, but again, if like you have made such important and life-changing decisions, you know that like this is the way it was a slow process almost of planning, and you kind of waiting for the right moment, even though there's no real right moment.
but you still had some kind of,
You know, you had something and it worked because
you were,
you kept thinking about it. You know, when the time was right, you acted on it. And
the same way.
all of these things, you know, your brain is also processing what you've gone through. You're also getting counseling and
You know,
Yeah.
seeking
therapy for this. And like you said, I love the fact that you journal, because I think
that's extremely
helpful as a method.
Yeah,
to
really
kind
get
of
you self-aware.
Exactly. And to help process the feelings, which we don't usually tend to do.
but
Rima, honestly, I'm pretty blown away, and I'm just in awe of your bravery, how young you are, how far you've come, the astute decisions that you've made along the way. And despite hell and despite everything you were taught and all of that what if fear lurking over our heads, you still decided to choose you over Allah, over your parents, over anybody. And some people might think that, oh, we're selfish for saying this.
but genuinely,
Speaking, this is the life that Rima chose to live for herself. Nobody has the right to get in the way of that, unless she's harming anybody or exactly.
and we should not
We should stop apologizing for it, especially as women. We should stop
apologizing.
living life on our own terms. Like, enough is enough. And you are a shining example of that. So again, I cannot thank you enough for reaching out. And by any means, if you ever wanted to do a part 2, you're always welcome. This platform is yours.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
No, for sure. And anything you want to say before we go? And then we can wrap this up.
Yeah, just say no. Just don't go back.
Just
Go back. I like that slogan.
Yeah, that's it. That's the slogan. Just don't go back.
Yeah, I love it. No, you're an incredible inspiration. I hope whoever's listening, you were just as inspired by Rima's story as I was tonight. And let us know what you thought in the comments, please. Please like this video and share it far and wide, because Rima comes from one of those pretty typical Muslim backgrounds that,
you know, we all
all kind of got some experience in. She
she's the one who's
Yeah.
made drastic decisions to get the hell out
and make her life.
her own, and I think that's commendable on so many levels, and not enough of us women do it. So yeah, this is going to be a banger of an interview, I think, Rima. But thank you so much from me. Thank you to everybody watching or listening, and most importantly, thank you to our esteemed guest tonight, Rima. I will see you again. I wish you all the best for the future.
And look after yourself.
Yeah, it was really nice chatting. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you. Bye, everyone.